First story. Entitled Stepsister introduces OP's ex as her boyfriend, and narcissistic mom tells OP to move on. So she distances herself and starts dating stepsister's crush. Now both sister and mom had a meltdown, calling her a disgusting hag, and said she would break them apart. We were as close as any two sisters growing up. My mom and her dad met when we were 8 and 6, and we got along really well from the get-go. My ex-boyfriend and I broke up 2 years ago. He cheated on me, and I found out about it a week after he proposed to me. 5-6 months later, SS told me that she and ex-boyfriend had started dating. I couldn't believe my ears. I was very angry at her, but the rest of the family, mom, stepdad, and 2 half-sisters didn't think it was a betrayal at all, and my mom once yelled at me to grow up and move on. I gradually distanced myself from my stepsister without making a fuss. I just poured myself into my studies instead and hid behind the "I'm swamped" excuse. I started dating my current boyfriend, CB25M, about 10 months ago. The only problem is that she used to have a huge crush on him, and she still, to this day, texts and DMs him. They never dated. I haven't told anyone in my family that I'm seeing someone. SS and BF got engaged, and they sent the wedding invitations last month, wedding in June. I didn't RSVP because I didn't want to attend. Last week, my mom asked me to visit. When I got there, mom was waiting with SS, her boyfriend and Mo, my half-sister, and my ex-boyfriend's sister. It was an intervention. My mom started by saying that I needed to stop alienating myself from everybody and get over the hurt. SS is getting married, and she wanted me as a bridesmaid. I told them no. Sis started crying, saying I'm ruining her wedding. She asked if it had to do with me not having a +1 because she could pair me with one of her ex-boyfriend's single best men, and I wouldn't feel lonely then. I got really angry and told her I didn't want to go to her wedding because I don't like her. She started crying again, calling me bitter and a hag for purposefully wanting to hurt her on her big day. I left. My mom called me later, saying if I didn't show up at least as a guest, I'd cut off the whole family. You see, they need me there, so people see that there's no hard feelings between us, and that I have blessed their marriage because she has been getting a whole lot of SHT from the family for what she did to me. I'm so angry now. What's between SS and I is broken beyond repair. Why is it so hard for them to understand? Plus, I do have a +1 should I decide to turn up. And she would regret the day she invited me then. I have a half mind to do it and ruin her day. I love my mom and my sisters, but I'm tired of them choosing each other's sides. And I know mom is so serious that she would cut me off if I didn't attend. She loves my stepdad very much, and upsetting SS means upsetting him. Any advice on how to tackle this? Because however I turn it, I am the loser. Update. Hi again. I couldn't find my OP because I used a throwaway account. But I could find the deleted post, and I copied it to this account. SS equals stepsister, CBF equals current boyfriend, XBF equals ex-boyfriend. Before I update, I want to thank you very, very much. When I wrote here, I was so hurt and consumed with anger that I was planning a very cheap revenge on my sister. But since then, and with the amazing advice I got from you, I realized that pettiness isn't the answer. I thought back and came to the conclusion that the only hurt I was feeling was because of my mom. Since my ex-boyfriend cheated, I have felt that my mom let me down by not supporting me. I don't care about SS or XBF. I'm very happy with my life now, and I love CB. I decided to try one last time to fix things with mom and explain to her how hurt I have been by her treatment. I also decided to tell her the truth. On Friday, I visited my mom. She was alone at the house. I started by telling her that I was hurt about the intervention, because I didn't think I needed one. I was hurt that she always took SS's side to please my stepdad, and I have many reasons for not attending SS's wedding. While I don't feel hurt anymore about her betrayal, our relationship has changed, and I don't see her as my sister anymore. I don't feel obligated to try and repair her reputation by going to her wedding. She made a very controversial life choice, and even if I'm not hurt by it anymore, she must have known people would be giving her a hard time, and I honestly don't understand why she cared. And lastly, I told her about CBF. I told her that she probably still has feelings for him, and that it wouldn't be nice for us to go to her wedding and ruin her day. I told her I wasn't ready to make our relationship official yet, and that if she knew he would be my partner, she would change her mind about inviting me. I saw that my mom was getting more and more upset the more I talked. When it came to the subject of CBF, she was shaking with suppressed rage. After I finished, she told me she was right in thinking that I'm a vindictive hag, that she's ashamed of me, and that my bitterness is the reason I will end up alone. She told me I was pathetic for hooking up with SS's old love, and she forbade me from telling anyone about him. And you should break up with him if you know what's good for you. She threatened to tell CBF that I'm using him to get back at SS, and then she kicked me out of her house. Yesterday, when I was in the kitchen, I heard the doorbell. CBS opened, and it was SS with ex-boyfriend. When she saw CBS, she asked, "What are you doing here?" I came out of the kitchen, and she was terrified, her eyes full of tears. Her plan was to sit and talk with her and her boyfriend to sort things out. But when she understood what was going on, she started crying. She called me names, cursed me, and threw the shoehorn I have in the entrance at me. She kept yelling, "How could you do this to me?" CBF asked them to leave and blocked her from getting at me. She left in tears, ex-boyfriend confused after her. Mum sent me a long email today, telling me that she was disgusted by my actions. She thought I planned for SS to find out about CBF and me. She forbade me from ever contacting her or my sisters, and told me that if I don't end things with CBF immediately, she will make breaking us up her priority. I showed CBF the email. He is very distraught. He asked me if I would consider moving to another city with him when I finish school, and we move in together. We'll see what happens, but I like his suggestion. It was the first time he talked about moving in together. I would have been over the moon if I wasn't so heartbroken. Second story. Entitled Wife, using their 7-year-old daughter as a scapegoat for her autistic daughter, who abused her. OP's last straw was when she pushed her eldest down the stairs, and wife scolded the eldest instead of checking on her. So he divorced her and took his daughter. My eldest NT daughter 7F has had to make so many sacrifices for her sister, with nonverbal autism 5F, more sacrifices than any child should have to make. She has unintentionally been put on the back burner ever since her younger sister was born. It is clearly taking a toll on her, and I felt really bad. The poor child cannot even have playdates unless I'm there because my wife cannot manage another child alone on top of our two. Because our daughter with autism needs constant supervision, can be aggressive, and is very prone to meltdowns. She cannot even go to friends' houses unless I'm there to help, unless the other parent can drive her and bring her back, because our daughter with autism is too difficult to handle in cars without another adult there. She has also been subject to aggressive behaviors from her sister, and has always been expected to let her sister have the first turn, the biggest piece, and the winning ticket, so to speak. She also had her toys frequently destroyed by her sister. I partly blame myself for this, and I'm trying to do better by her. She has been dying for a kitten ever since she could speak, but my wife kept saying no because she couldn't handle any more work as our autistic daughter requires so much care. I see the longing look in my daughter's eyes whenever there's a kitten on television, in a magazine, etc. I've tried to get easy pets like a bed of fish so my wife wouldn't be overwhelmed, but she still wants a kitten. My wife is a psalm, and I work long hours. I thought my daughter had it rough these past 5 years, and for once deserved a little joy in her life. So I decided against my wife's wishes to get her a kitten. The joy on her face ever since having her new kitten brought tears to my eyes, and I'm not a crier. My wife is furious with me and has demanded that I return the kitten. Our daughter cried so much overhearing this that I usually apologize to her. But this time I put my foot down and said absolutely not. I understand she's overwhelmed, but our daughter deserves a little bit of joy in her life for once. And as she gets older, she will be able to handle the kitten more. Our daughter is a person, not just supposed to be a decorative artifact in her sister's story. I understand she's the one who's home and has to help take care of it much of the time. But it will not be a kitten forever, and it will grow into a more independent cat. At least our daughter was asking for a kitten rather than a puppy, which is a lot more work. I've seen a lot of posts on here about adult children of disabled siblings going without contact with their parents due to emotional neglect, and I am trying to prevent that from happening. AITA, top comments. Info. Who is going to stop the aggressive toy-breaking child from hurting the kitten? In comments, the OP says he got locked out of his previous account and leaves an update at uxhealantcomb22. Update. I am the OP here. The other account got suspended. That's why I can't update from the original account. My wife and I are now separated and more likely than not to get a divorce. I have tried everything, and my wife has refused all suggestions. She refuses respite care because her daughter, who has autism, doesn't like strangers. She said the same thing when I offered to hire a pet sitter for the kitten when I wasn't home to help. I spoke to an old acquaintance of mine from college who is now a child psychologist because I was at my wit's end. He said, "I'm going to be very candid with you. Children with high needs autism such as yours will only get bigger, stronger, and worse. Yes, she may currently be helped by a BA therapy and such, but all that help and training will go out the window once she hits puberty. And in every single case, Their well-off siblings have ended up with psychological issues, depression, anxiety, and CPTSD, and often have little or no contact with their parents upon adulthood. And telling your child that, "I'm doing the best I can," and "don't take it personal," will not reduce the harmful impact on their mental and emotional health. My advice is to get her into a group home ASAP. I'm not saying forget about her or don't be in her life. I'm saying that is where they all end up eventually, and you'll be doing no one any favors by waiting until she's too large and strong for you and your wife to manage. I have not seen one case of behavior improving for the long term until they ended up in a group home. I'm sorry to have to be so grim, but I couldn't bring myself to lie to you. It's no one's fault. It's the nature of high needs, low-functioning autism. All the love in the world won't fix it. I thanked him for his honesty. I discussed it with my wife, including the group home. She'll have none of it. A minute later, I heard a tumble and 2 loud cries. The older daughter is at the bottom of the steps, and the younger one is at the top. She cried. She pushed me. All her mother could say was, "If you had picked up your toys like I told you to, this wouldn't have happened. She stepped on your toy and got upset. That's why she pushed you." This was the final straw for me. I said, "For the love of God, what's wrong with you? She's 7 years old. Neither of us can handle her, and you expect a 7-year-old to?" She yelled at me to get out. I told her, "Way ahead of you, I want a divorce, and I'm taking my oldest daughter and kitten with me." I took my daughter to the hospital to get her checked out for internal injuries. She has a few scrapes, but is otherwise okay physically at least. The wife never called to ask if she was okay. She and I are staying in a hotel with a kitten until I find us an apartment. We've only been here for 3 days, and I already see such a difference in my daughter. She's not the shell of a child I once knew. She's happy, vibrant, and calmer than I've ever seen her. And she hasn't cried once while she used to cry 1-2 times a day before. I do also plan to get her therapy ASAP, which her mother wouldn't let her do, claiming no time. But when I offered for her to do Zoom sessions with a therapist, she said no because she doesn't want the therapist judging her. And she absolutely adores her kitten. She stays with my parents while I'm working, and I plan to send more than ample child support and alimony to my wife and other daughter and let them have the house. I did what I had to do for her well-being. The child psychologist I spoke with said, "I'm the first parent he's seen who has advocated this much for the well-being of children, and that broke my heart. Thank you again, everyone." Third story. Entitled Sister Joked to OP's Girlfriend. Make sure you come back this time after she left her son at OP's to cure her mental health for resenting her own son. So OP cut ties with his sister. "My son Jack is going to be too soon. His mom, Annie, has a complicated history of how this all happened. Her husband passed away, and 3 months after that, we slept together. We were barely friends at the time, so I didn't know until after our first night together that she'd recently become a widow. But she told me she was really lonely and just enjoyed that physical connection. So for about 8 months, that's how it was. We didn't see each other too often. Then we found out she was pregnant. She wanted to go through with the pregnancy, and I fully supported her if that was what she wanted. The thing was, she still had a lot of grief, and when my son was born, it was hard for her to connect with him. She said she felt guilty about having a baby with another man after losing her husband. By the time Jack was 4 months old, she hadn't gotten any better, and her mental health had completely deteriorated. I took over with him full-time after this since she wasn't in the best place to be a mother. Annie still visited a few days out of the week for a short period, but I was doing most of the childcare while she went to therapy. Then she was in the hospital for a while. She couldn't come over much during COVID, except for video chats, so she's essentially become a stranger to him. 3 months ago, she started coming around more after not seeing him for a while. She's on antidepressants, and therapies helped her a lot. Now she's more set on being a mom, and we're slowly reintroducing him to her. My sister hasn't been happy about this. I know she's upset on my behalf, as I struggled a bit as a single parent. She knows the situation that happened to her, but still thinks she shouldn't be allowed back into Jack's life after abandoning him. And yeah, I get her feelings, but since Annie's in a better place mentally, I want to give Jack a shot at having a mom around. I still have my guard up, obviously, and we're taking it one day at a time, but I see how different she is with him now. My sister hasn't stopped making comments, no matter how many times I've told her to knock it off. She dropped by unannounced when Annie was here, and was very openly hostile right in front of Jack. Annie offered to leave, and then my sister jokes, "Make sure you come back this time." I told her to leave and not come back until she could act right with the mother of my child. My sister is offended that I'm taking her side by kicking her out of my house since she's only angry on my behalf, and it was a joke she made. That's why she thinks I'm an arsehole. For me, I was thinking I'd rather get her out as soon as possible before saying something else in front of my son. Was I being an arsehole? Verdict. NTA. Update. I appreciate all the words and advice in my last post. There have been some new changes regarding the situation that happened before with my sister and Annie, so I decided to leave a little update. Many of you were right about my sister's negativity possibly affecting the relationship between Annie and Jack. It's also reassuring to know that we were making the right call here. The last thing I wanted was to make Annie feel bad for things that were out of her control. At first, when I talked to my sister, we got nowhere. I even brought up what some of you said here. Would she feel the same if Annie had been in the hospital getting treatment for cancer or some other physical disease or illness? My sister claimed that's not the same thing, and we had to have a deeper conversation on why it is exactly the same thing. Annie was not in the right place mentally to be a fit parent and decided to get help. There was no need for her hostility towards Annie now that she's gotten the treatment she needs, and we're taking steps to bring her back into Jack's life. My sister and I still didn't see eye to eye. So that's when I made the decision that she wouldn't be allowed around us for a while and stuck with the same condition I made in my original post. We didn't talk for almost 2 months. Then I guess my sister finally realized I wasn't going to budge. So she agreed she'd be nicer to Annie and wouldn't talk badly about her in front of Jack. I thought this meant things would turn around, but unfortunately, it didn't end that way. Even after giving her a second chance, she still couldn't hold back from sending a message to Annie letting her know she's only doing this for me, but she will never be okay with her. She called her a terrible mother, among other things. She was counting on Annie not to show me this since it would cost her son his aunt, like it said in her message. Oh yeah, I was pissed. Another talk with her later, and I decided she's not having any contact with us at all. As much as it pains me, I can't have that kind of negativity around my son or his mother. Their relationship has been rebuilding nicely, and this is a crucial time for all of us. We don't need the extra drama. On a positive note, Jack has really warmed up to his mom, and it's a beautiful sight to see. I'm happy Annie is getting somewhere with him, and they seem to be getting closer every day. So, not all bad news, right? Thanks again, Reddit, for the help. You guys really helped ease my mind in this situation. At least don't feel like an arsehole anymore for making the right choice. Update. We didn't start our relationship in the best way. She was looking for something physical, to forget about losing her husband, and it worked out great. She got pregnant 8 months after we started seeing each other, and then we agreed to work together as co-parents. PPD hit her very hard a few months after our son was born, on top of all the grief she still hadn't fully processed. And she had to be away for a while to get the help she needed, especially when the lockdown happened. And for the past 8 months, she's been the best mom to our 2-year-old boy. He loves her so much, and I'm happy with the progress they've made, and to see her in such a better headspace. All the effort she put in to get healthy mentally so she can be a mom for our son. It took me a few months to realize I was in love with her. I always wanted to be supportive through her struggles and be there for her as a friend or co-parent. She told me before that she was in love with me too. But for me, it doesn't feel like the right time yet. Or maybe I'm still scared to create a new change between us. She's been a wonderful full-time parent. The whole reason we wanted to wait on a relationship was so all our energy could be focused on her rebuilding a relationship with our son, which has been going great. A few times like Christmas Eve, we've had a few moments where we almost kissed and wanted to keep holding back to wait a little longer. It's starting to feel like torture. I love her very much, and I'm eager for the day I can fully express that. Update. I'm in love with the mother of my child. The history I have with my son's mother is a bit of a complicated one. I've written posts on it, so there are more details. After having to be away to get treated for PPD and PTSD, she's been back in our toddler's life for close to 10 months. He absolutely adores his mom. We were never an official couple at any point during this, but there were growing feelings for a long time. The last time I posted here, I was met with some positive feedback and decided to stop being afraid of taking things to the next step. Annie, my son's mom, admitted almost a year ago that she was in love with me. And for me, it didn't hit until months ago that I'm very much in love with her. With everything that happened, we still wanted to take things slow for our son's sake. I still decided to ask her out on a coffee date, and it was a very sweet time. Then in the car heading back to my place, we kissed. What's crazy is that we've kissed plenty of times before when we were only casually sleeping with each other. But this one felt like our first genuine kiss. She told me how much she loved me a few times. It made my heart pound like crazy. It's been over a month since then, and we've had several regular dates whenever we can leave our son with a sitter. It's still scary and new for us, So we just try to go at our own pace. She comes over every day to be with our son, while I work until late in the evening so the three of us can have dinner together. The relationship she's building with my son always warms my heart. She struggled so much to try to be his mom, and to finally see them at a place where they are really bonding makes me very happy. And I love her even more, TBH. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.